What up, everybody? It's your boy Aaron coming to you with another video from First and Faithful. In today's video, I want to go over some of the reasons cited either for or against a Raheem Mostert contract redo and why they're incorrect. But before we jump into that, please, if you could, take a couple seconds, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. Now let's jump into it. Now, the top 5 running back take comes from Sports Illustrated beat reporter Grant Cohn. You have to take most of what Grant says with a grain of salt. He is known, if you didn't know, as kind of, I don't want to say a troll, but he does kind of throw out these hot takes to engage the fans. Some people think of him as a troll. That's neither here nor there, but this was an opinion he did on Twitter, and also a video he did for YouTube where he said Raheem Mostert was a top 5 back. You know, that is a hot take and clearly wrong. A couple simple reasons why. Mostert didn't do it for a whole season. You know, 137 regular season carries, which tied him for 32nd in the league last season. I mean, that's not a full workload or anything close to that. Even when you add in his carries from the 3 playoff games, he only jumps up to the 24th spot. For comparison, Lamar Jackson had 176 regular season carries as a quarterback. It's again, he didn't do it for a full season. He really did it for about the last 5 seasons. Really starting with the Baltimore game is when he got the majority of his carries. He hasn't done for a full season. Grant likes to say if Niner fans can say that Jimmy Garoppolo is a top 10 quarterback after last season, he can say Mostert is a top 5 running back. Obviously, the difference is Garoppolo, started the entire season, where Mostert, had 0 starts, but really didn't become the lead back until the last 6 games of the season. And even the playoffs against the Vikings, Coleman was the lead back in that game. The Green Bay game, if Coleman hadn't hurt his shoulder, there is some question, would Mostert have gotten as many carries as he did? Maybe he doesn't. We'll never know. So just something to keep in mind with that. Also, when we talk about top 5 and like I said, production and length of time the whole season is a reason he's not top 5. Another reason is Gus Edwards. When I say Gus Edwards, who is was Baltimore's number 2 running back last season, if you don't count Lamar Jackson, and probably this season maybe is their number 3 behind Ingram, rookie J.K. Dobbins. Edwards might be the 3rd, but when you compare their stat lines, as you can see, they're pretty similar, right? The only real difference is in touchdowns, which, as anybody who plays fantasy knows, is a very volatile statistic season this season. But you look at their stat lines, they're almost identical, very, very, very close. And I don't think even Grant would say that Gus Edwards is a top 5 back or even a top 10 back. I don't think anybody's putting Gus Edwards anywhere near a top 20 running back list. So again, not correct. Sorry, Grant. Your hot take. Let me just pour some water on that. It's now a cold take.
Preview.
This is another argument. The Niners took a chance on Mostert argument, which I've seen a lot on Twitter. I've seen on YouTube. A lot of people have used that as kind of a reason, against Mostert getting his contract redo. It's a silly argument for a couple of reasons. When Raheem Mostert broke his forearm against the Raiders on Thursday night, that was in early November. I think it was either November 1st or November 2nd. He broke his forearm, had surgery right afterwards. By the next month, by December, he was already shooting hoops on that. It was fairly healed up. You remember, he didn't sign his contract till March of the next year. So by that time, his forearm had healed. It's not like they signed him. He broke his forearm and they signed him to his 3-year deal the next day and took a chance on him. I keep saying this. They took a chance when he got hurt. They didn't take a chance. By March, he was healed. It's a forearm. It's not an ACL. It's not an ankle. It's not a ligament where it's like, well, we haven't seen you cut on it. Or, it's not Jerick McKinnon where it's like, hey, at this point, you kind of need to see him play in some games, cut on it, in live action before you can kind of see like, okay, yeah, we think that, ACL is good or it's not. etc. Same with Trent Taylor. Like, we need to see him live action. Jalen Hurd, how's that back going to hold up to a hit or two? This is a forearm. It's not a joint. You can look at the X-ray, look at MRI, and say, "Yep, that bone is healed. The bone is fine," and move along. This isn't one of those ACL joint type of injuries, a ligament injury where there's a lot of questions. Like, either the forearm is healed or it's not. So this idea that they took a chance on him, they rolled the dice is a silly argument. They wait till March. I'm sure they did MRIs, X-rays, talked to his doctor. The forearm was healed. Kind of broke it on kind of what was a freak accident. He was just literally put his arm out to break his fall, and unfortunately broke his forearm. So the idea that they took a chance on him, it's a silly argument, and really just it is a not a very good argument.
Preview.
This one is a two-parter. It's the system, not Raheem Mostert. This is kind of, there's where it's both. I believe it's both. It's a system. There's some truth in the it's the system, not Raheem Mostert argument, but there's a truth to the Raheem Mostert, kind of makes the system go. And let's be honest, that Shanahan system is amazing. Going back to Mike Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan's dad, when he was with Denver, the numbers speak for themselves. You look from, I think it was 1998 to 2006, they had 6 different 1,000-yard rushers: Terrell Davis, Olandis Gary, Mike Anderson, Reuben Jones, Tatum Bell, and Clinton Portis. It was, a plug-and-play kind of system. You could just throw, and some of those guys, obviously Terrell Davis is in the Hall of Fame. Clinton Portis was a very, very, very good running back. But Olandis Gary, Mike Anderson, Reuben Jones, Tatum Bell, these are not, most of those names, unless you were kind of watching football back then, they don't resonate. If you're, I'm almost 40, if you're, 30 and not like a big Broncos fan, you probably don't know those names at all. Outside of Terrell Davis and Clinton Portis, you have no idea who those other 4 are. And that goes to the system. The system is a great system. Obviously we've seen it with Kyle Shanahan himself. We've seen Alfred Morris, Matt Breida, Tevin Coleman, Freeman when he was coordinator for Atlanta. We saw what that system does for players. It is a system that really generates, production out of the running game. Simple as that. Where I think the argument where it's just the system is wrong is I think Mostert is a perfect back for the system. And to me, if you have a system, and it's a really great system, to me, you want the best parts for that system. The way I look at it is if you have you don't want BMW with a Ford Focus engine. You want BMW with the BMW engine, the best BMW engine you can get in there. You don't want, like I said, you don't want a crappy engine in this really good car, this really great system, right? You want the best parts. You don't want an Apple laptop body with a discount Walmart laptop parts inside. It's just it just isn't going to work to its full potential. And I think Mostert is that guy who makes a system work to its full potential. The man is a home run hitter. If you look at his carries during the regular season, 16.7 of his carries went for 10 or more yards. That's an insanely high number. If you look at his touchdowns, he had 10 touchdowns last season. 8 of them were 10 or more yards. The guy's a home run hitter. And in this system, you see him. You saw him, and then that's not even including the playoffs. That's not including the Green Bay game, where it just seemed like every time he got the ball, he was going for 15, 20 yards. Just every time. Just no problem. And so for me, the argument that it's a system is correct. But I do believe that Mostert is the best back for that system. We've seen it in San Francisco. No one's come close to his production in that system. Not Tevin Coleman. Breida has had moments, right? Breida he's had moments, but he cannot stay healthy, or could not stay healthy. He's on the team anymore. And then towards the end of this last season, for some reason, developed a fumbling problem. I'm not sure. I know that was kind of Mostert's kind of bugaboo as well earlier, but I don't know what happened to Bria, but he kind of developed this fumbling issue, but couldn't stay healthy. But we saw when he was healthy, when he was clicking, he was capable of the home run hit too. But Mostert just seems to do it on a much more consistent basis. So for me, you want the best bat for that system. So while the people who say that it's the system are correct, it is a system. I'm not sure Mostert could go to, let's say, New England and put up the same numbers, or probably any place with the same numbers, because the system maximizes him. He also maximizes the system. I think they work in conjunction. He just signed the contract argument. I personally hate that argument. I think it's a poor argument. If you know anything about sports contracts, it's a dumb argument. In sports, teams cut players, ask them to take pay cuts all the time, whether their contract is halfway through, whether there's a year left, 2 years left, 3 years left, it doesn't matter. Teams, cut players, all that, all the time. Fans never seem to get upset about this. Ironically, people who are saying, Mostert's, this is 1 year into his contract, he shouldn't be asking for money. Or the same people saying, well, fine, then cut Tevin Coleman, and then there you go, there's the money for him. It's like, well, but he's under contract. So if your whole thing is honor your contract, why are you saying cut Tevin Coleman? Like, the Niners signed that contract, so they have to deal with that, right? And you see a lot of people say, oh, that's his problem. He signed a poor contract, tough titties, oh, well, for him. But they don't seem to say it the other way when, the Niners want to cut an underperforming player. Joe Williams, possibly Tevin Coleman. There's going to be people that are going to cut this offseason. I don't see anybody, going to be shedding tears and hashtagging the Niners or adding the Niners saying, honor your contract. That's such a bad argument. Look, he signed that contract. He has outperformed that so far. So I understand him saying, look, if you're asking me to become the lead back this next season, which is what people expect him to be, what people expect the Niners will have him do, I understand him saying, look, what I signed was a special teams contract. Now you're asking me to be the lead back. I would like a little more money. I would like to be paid kind of on par with Tevin Coleman. I understand that. But the argument that, he needs to honor his contract, again, this is the NFL. This is sports contract. Teams sign players and then cut them. A great, perfect example is Todd Gurley. After the 2018 season, before the 2018 season, signed a 4-year deal with the Rams. That deal lasted 2 years. He played the 2018 season, and he played this last season. What happened in the offseason this year? He was cut. He was released. Still had 2 years left on this deal. Rams said, sorry, this deal's not good. You got hurt, you're not performing as well, you're not worth the money. Sorry, we'll take the dead cap hit, you can go somewhere else. I don't remember anybody complaining that the Rams didn't honor their contract to Todd Gurley. I don't remember anybody saying that. And that's why the argument of he just signed contract is silly. This is sports. You get your money when you can. And if you feel like you have some sort of leverage or you feel like you deserve a raise, you ask for it, period. And it shouldn't matter if you just signed a contract or you're a year into it, 2 years into it, because we know the flip side teams are more than happy to cut you after a year, 2 years. If you get hurt, like let's be honest about that. So that's just to me just a silly argument that tells me, honestly, I'm not sure you watch sports or you understand sports contracts. And if you're upset that a player isn't trying to honor their contract, then I would assume that you'd be equally upset when a team doesn't honor a contract. So, in as far as the contract, what I would do personally, people are like, oh, you cut him, you trade him. I wouldn't trade him in a perfect world, and I'm not a capologist. And obviously with COVID, the George Kittle contract, there are so many moving parts to this that the Niners may literally be looking and saying, look, we can't give you a raise right now because we haven't figured out the Kittle contract, because the COVID situation has just really put a monkey wrench in everything. The Players Association just sent a economic counter proposal to the league. I believe it was yesterday, And so, saying basically if no season is played, the contracts, everybody still gets paid guaranteed. There are so many moving parts here. Nothing is certain. I don't know, if they can even, if even giving them a raise is even really an option. Having said that, in a perfect world, what I would do, since his contract is not guaranteed and he's looking for kind of guaranteed money, I would keep his contract as is, but redo it where $2 million of it is guaranteed. Fine, you get $2 million guaranteed. The rest up to, I think he makes like 3.1 or so, you get through game checks. And the difference between his contract right now, the 3.1, and Coleman's, which I think is like about 1.5 million more, give or take, you can make through incentives. So if you play the whole season, you meet certain incentives, you will get the same amount that Tevin Coleman's going to get this year. That's what I do. Again, I'm not a capologist. I'm not sure how that would work, with the cap, etc. But in a vacuum, that's what I would do. I think it splits the difference. It's fine. $2 million, your contract's guaranteed, and then you can not only earn the rest of your salary like you were supposed to earn this season through game checks, but if you do perform up to the level that you did last season or better, you can make Tevin Coleman money. You'll make lead back money on this team. So that's, like I said, my take. Some of the arguments people are making for and against. What I would do, leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think they should do. I don't think they should trade him. They have all the leverage. In regards to that, like I said, I can understand most are asking for more money. I really do. I understand from a player's perspective. Hey, I killed it at the end of last year. You're asking me to take on more of a lead back role this season. I should get paid like the lead back on the team. I should get Tevin Coleman money. But I also understand it from the team's perspective. Look, you only did it for about 8 games. We just signed you to a contract. The cap and everything is in flux. You signed the contract. Look, if you do it again this season, then, we can talk. We can talk an extension or redoing your contract, etc. I get both sides. I get why the team is like, nope, and I get why Mostert is asking for money. And so I don't think either side is wrong. I think both sides are correct in what they're doing. It just obviously with COVID, with the salary cap, it's such a fluid situation. This might get, look, if we end up having the season or something more definitively comes down, this might get hashed out very quickly. If the Kittle contract gets worked out shortly, you may see that may be the main domino that falls. Hey, that falls, boom, Mostert may get his wish either with a trade or with a raise right after. So again, there's so many moving parts. Like I said, I don't think either side is wrong. It's just the timing is so bad. I think this last season, I think this gets worked out pretty quickly because numbers. I think if the Niners knew exactly what was going to happen with the cap for the next 2 or 3, post-COVID, they could probably work something out. Not knowing is obviously affecting every decision they make. Probably including the Jamal Adams, possible trade situation as well. So let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment below. Would you trade him? Would you just hold on to him? Would you play hardball? Do you think he should get a raise? Do you think he shouldn't? Do you think he's greedy? Do you agree with my reasoning? Etc. But as always, thank you for stopping by. I'm Aaron. This is First and Faithful. Have a great one.